Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the second webinar of the JoinHealth 2026 Spring Series, co-promoted by Health Cluster Portugal and EIT Health. My name is Sara Pereira. I'm Project Manager at Health Cluster Portugal, and with me I have Ricardo Pires from EIT Health in All Stars, co-hosting this webinar. These webinars are part of the DigiHealth PT initiative, which is the Portuguese Digital Innovation Hub for Health, which aims to provide support to startups, SMEs, and public organizations in innovation and digital transformation in the healthcare sector. First of all, I'd like to thank our speaker today and introduce you to Alexandra Mendes. Alexandra Mendes is a biomedical engineer specialized in medical instrumentation and biomaterials from University of Coimbra. She holds a post-graduation in intellectual property law from the Faculty of Law of Universidade de Lisboa. Since 2019, she has been working as a patent examiner at the Portuguese Institute of Industrial Propriety in the area of biomaterials, medical devices, and biotechnology. Alexandra has also been part of the organization of international events regarding healthcare patent applications. Alexandra, thank you for being here and for sharing your expertise with us. Regarding the program of this webinar, it will be structured in two main parts. In the first part, Alexandra will present on industrial propriety in the context of digital health, covering key concepts, potential requirements, and highlighting important consideration and common pitfalls when dealing with patents in this area. She will also address intellectual property strategies for digital health startups and SMEs, exploring how intellectual property can support throughout the different stages of solutions development. This will be followed by a Q&A session, so we invite you to share your questions and comments using the Q&A tool. To close the webinar, Alexandra will present a case study based on the experience of Perceive 3D. Before we begin, I would like to let you know that the PowerPoint presentation will be available to those of you who are requesting by filling out the survey that we will share after the webinar, and the webinar recording will be available on the Health Cluster Portugal YouTube channel. Thank you so much to the audience for attending this webinar, and Alexandra, thank you again for your participation. The stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Sara. First of all, thank you for inviting Nipi for being here. And as Sara said, I am a biomedical engineering working as a patent examiner since 2019. And I hope that today I will be able to transmit you some useful information regarding the industrial property and patents more specifically. So let me share my presentation. So are you all seeing? Okay. So just a brief agenda. We will start by talking about some key concepts about industrial property. And then we will look into more detail to patentability requirements. And then we will see some key considerations and some pitfalls that you should be taking into account when you deal with patents in digital health. The last part of this webinar will be more focused on the strategies and the opportunities and challenges that can arise from intellectual property. And as Sara said, after the Q&A, we will look at a case study regarding Perceive 3D. Okay, so let's start with the basics, okay? About intellectual property and some confusion that sometimes arise from these concepts that look alike but are different. We have the intellectual property, that is a huge umbrella under which there are two main groups, the industrial property and the copyright. The industrial property is regarding technical creations, scientific and technical creations, and the copyright is the the branch that is related with the artistic creations that reflect the personality of the author. Within the industrial property, we have two main groups. We have the technological rights and the commercial rights. The first one, the technological rights, embrace the patents, the utility models, and the supplementary protection certificates. And then the commercial rights that are also very known from the audience are the trademarks, the logos, the designs or models, the appellations of origin, the geographic indications, and so on. In this webinar, we will be more focused on the first group, mainly on patents, but I want to let you know that the commercial rights are also very, very important. And of course, when you are also dealing with products and services in digital health, these are also to be taken into account and to be thought as a very important strategy. We have different types of protection depending on the object that we are trying to protect. In the case of the object to protect is an invention, we have then patents and utility models. In the case of we want to protect the design, the shape of a certain product, we have the design or model modalities. In case you want to protect your image, the way the customers see your brand, of course, you have the trademark and the logos. And for that knowledge, for that know-how, you have the trade secrets and the business model that I believe that everyone also have heard about. All these types of different protections don't happen in isolation. To be really protect a product, need to have several different protections. And so, for example, in this slide, we see the swimming suit that was used by Michael Phelps, and that is protected by patent, in this case, a process for obtaining this type of fabric, protected by design, and also by trademark to be more easy to identify the company that is responsible for this type of swimming suit. In another example, in this case, this wine, we have the appellation of origin that is also a type of protection in the commercial rights, and we have national patents. Just to let you know that not the type of protections that can be protected are not only the technological obvious inventions, and some wine can also be object of a patent. In this case, it's also object of a national and a European patent. Okay, so let's ask the main question here. What is a patent? So a patent is a legal title that grants its holder the right to prevent others from making, from using, from selling, from offering for sale or for important their invention without their consent. This is why a patent is called a negative right. Because a patent doesn't give you the right to produce or to sell, it prevents others to do it, okay, without your consent. In return for the rights and for the protection that is granted, the invention must be fully disclosed so others can look at the invention and can build on it. They can learn with your invention and can then contribute to developments and to the advance of science, for example. It is an exclusive right because it is granted to its owner, but it is only granted for a certain period of time and for a certain geographic territory. In this case, the time limit is 20 years, as we will see. And when this time ends, when the patent ceases to be enforced, the invention will fall into public domain and anyone can produce it and sell it without needed the consentment of the patent holder because it is no longer applicable. We saw that patents protect inventions, but what is an invention? Although we don't have a legal definition about what is an invention. We have a consensus that inventions are technical solutions for specific technical problems. And more correct is to say new technical solutions to specific technical problems. So basically, solutions need to address something to some problem in order to be considered an invention. It has to have a purpose. And inventions can be more complex. It can be more less complex. It can be products like a headbank for monitoring biosignals. It can be pharmaceutical products. It can also be processes like a method to store DNA for analyzing for several purposes, for example. So we have lots of different objects that we can protect because they are considered inventions, okay? Processes can be in any technical field as well as product. And we also have inventions that are used. And in this case, it is more applicable in chemistry or pharma or biotech fields. For example, in this case, the more known example is the aspirin that was firstly produced for treating headaches and fevers. And then after being patented, they found out that it was also good for cardiovascular diseases, and this new use was patentable. A patent can be protected during 20 years in any technical field, as we already said. And the utility model, that is another modality, only lasts 60 years and can be prolonged two more years and 2 more years. Attention that utility models cannot protect biological matter or chemical substances or compositions or processes that give them origin. Pharmaceutical substances or compositions or processes are not allowed also, as well as food products and processes to obtain them, okay? So this is something that you need to take into account. Besides these differences between these two modalities, there's also a big difference relating to the assessment of inventive step that we'll see in the next slides. But I just want to first know that inventions can be protected by patents. That I think is the modality that is more common or well known in the audience, but there are also utility models that in some type of products can also be a possibility. Okay, let's now look at the patentability requirements or the granting requirements if we are talking about utility models, because the requirements are the same. First, we have novelty, and I think this is easy to understand that an invention is novel if it is not comprised in the state of the art. Second, we have inventive step. And what is inventive step? When an invention is not obvious by looking at the documents and the things that are disclosed in the state of the art, it is inventive. And first and third, the last one is industrial application, that an invention can be fabricated and used in any industrial activity. This last one is more easy to understand, and it is most of the times applicable, but it can be some exceptions. In the first two requirements, I would like you to look at this concept that is the state of the art, because it is really an important concept that you need to be careful, because what is the state of the art is basically everything that is made available to the public before the filing date of an application. And it can be written descriptions like an article, a scientific article, or I don't know, master thesis, or an article in a journal, for example. It can be an oral description, for example, in some exposition, an affair, for example. By use is when there's no written or material support of that disclosure, but you know that it is common, general common knowledge that something exists. And in another way is, for example, in websites of companies, the catalogs, or some information that is disclosed about the invention. So really take into account everything that is available to the public before the filing date of an application is considered the state of the art, and it will be very determinant when assessing novelty and inventive step of the invention. Regarding the patentability and the granting requirements, another really important difference between patents and utility models is regarding the assessment of the inventive step. For a patent, an invention shall be considered as involving an inventive step if, having regard to the state of the art, it is not obvious to a person skilled in the art. Instead, an utility model may involve an inventive step if the invention offers a practical or a technical advantage in the manufacture or the use of a product or the process that the invention is related with. And here we also have a concept that is important you to get know, that is a person skilled in the art. Basically, a person skilled in the art is considered to be anyone, no, a person that has all the knowledge regarding that technical field and has access to everything that is comprising the state of the art, or all the articles, or all the books. He has all that knowledge, but he doesn't have an inventive step. So he is able to perform normal laboratory routines. He can read several articles. He has the knowledge, but he can't think in an inventive way. And also an important thing to know is that a person skilled in the art is not always one person only. It can be a team of different persons that are in similar technical areas, or relatively similar technical areas, and they can work together and have all that knowledge combined. Now looking into some considerations that you have to know, especially in digital health, but honestly, I think this also applies in every technical field that you may have. So some mistakes that are done by the inventor or the applicant is one that looks very basic, but it happens, that is disclosing or commercializing the invention before filing a patent application. And of course, even being done by the inventor or the applicant, this disclosure is considered to be as an obstacle to the novelty of the invention. A second big mistake is not doing a search. And with this, the invention may not be new or inventive, and the inventor and the applicant spend money and effort to do something that at the end already exists, and he didn't understand that because he didn't do a search. Other mistakes that usually happen is failure to comply with the time limits of the proceedings. There are some specific time limits that you need to be aware and to follow. Not depositing the patent application at the right time, and this can be, for example, filing an application when the invention is still in a very early stage, and so when they file an application, are certain essential features of the invention that are not present in the application at the beginning, and this can be a problem in the future, as well as not disclosing all the technical matter of the invention in the patent application. Sometimes applicants and inventors want to keep secrets and not disclosing everything as it should be. And when the examiner analyzes the application and tries to understand the invention, it finds that some pieces are missing and the invention is not well disclosed, and it can be a really problem. So, things that a person should be really aware before filing an application, before writing a patent application or a utility model application. First of all, analyzing the prior art. This is really important, looking at what already exists, look not only in the patent documentation, but also in the scientific articles, for example. Really understand the invention, get to know what really is essential to that invention, what are the main features, what are the other embodiments that can arise and that you need also to protect. And then three specific questions, that is the limitations regarding the object that is being protected, the limitations regarding the patent or the utility model that are different, and of course, the effort to comply with the descriptive sufficiency and clarity, as already said. Talking about analyzing the prior art and looking for prior art documents that are patent documentation is really important. There are certain things you need to be aware, such as the anatomy of a patent. What are the documents that are comprised within a patent application? What are the databases and the search tools that are very useful for this search, and how can we use it? And in this way, how can we use it? We need to take into account the keywords that are used, the booleans that are used in our search, and a thing that is very specific of patent documents, that is classification. Patent documents are classified. There are several classifications schemes, but here I only talk about the two main classification schemes, that is the International Patent Classification and the Cooperative Patent Classification. Basically, the International Patent Classification is used in every offices, intellectual property offices of the world. And in another hand, the Cooperative Patent Classification is a classification scheme that relates with the International Patent Classification, and it is used mostly in European patents and in North American patents as well. It was a joint agreement between these two huge offices to harmonize the classifications that were given to the patent applications. As you can see, I put here just an example that may be related with patents in digital health regarding images and video recognition. And for example, in this slide, the G06V10/00 is one patent, international patent classification. And then if we look into detail below this classification, we can find a more detailed classification that specifies some features of the inventions. And on green, you can see the cooperative classification. So you can see that these two types of classifications are related and can be used, for example, if you want to make a very straightforward search on a certain invention or on a certain type of invention, you can use these classifications. If we have time, I will show you on the website, on the Spaçnet, that is a very user-friendly website, and I can tell you where to look at this classification scheme. These are another patent databases, the one I was talking about, and the slides, the print screens were from the Spaçnet. That is a database that is managed by the European Patent Office. But there are another ones, including the INPI database and the Patent Scope that is run by WIPO, the International World Organization. Okay, looking at the patent documents, it is important to understand what kind of information can be retrieved from. So we have the bio and the bibliographic information that tells us who is the inventor, who is the app, when the application was filed, when it was published to the public, the classification that the patent examiner classified them, because this is a task that is from the patent examiner. You can see the abstract that is usually a small text with the basic information of the invention, what is its purpose, what are the main features. And then you have the description that is a more vast description of the invention. It has a summary. It explains in detail the problem that the invention is supposed to solve. Sometimes it also has a comparison between other documents of the state of the art. It tells us why that invention is different from the ones that already exist, for example. And it must have at least one way of carrying out the invention. It must disclose one example of how a person can look at the document and carry out the invention. Then we have the claims, and this one is maybe the more important, is the heart of the patent. And why? Because it is on claims that the scope of protection is defined, okay? Everything that is outside the claims are not protected, and so everyone can do it, basically. Then we have the drawings that are not mandatory, but if they are needed to have a better understanding of the invention, they need to be submitted, as well as the publication figure. Regarding these technical documents and regarding the importance of claims, remember that a patent application is a very specific thing, and writing claims is really, really important because it will define what is protected and what is not. And the first claim, that is the main claim, will be the more important claim, and it should be broad in a way that doesn't limit you to the several embodiments that you disclose. So you should start with a broader claim, with the main claim, and then start to put the layers like an onion of the several embodiments that you have disclosed in your description. Okay, so now looking at some pitfalls and some things you should be careful with, and especially on this kind of technical field like digital health field, you need to be very aware with the limitations regarding the object. And why is that? What is considered limitations regarding the object? Discoveries, scientific theories, mathematical methods, materials or substances that already exist in nature, aesthetic creations, some schemes or rules or methods for performing mental acts, such as business methods, and programs for computers as such, as well as presentations of information. And in these limitations, you find the mathematical methods and the business methods and the programs for computers as such, as a thing that you should be really careful when writing the claims on digital health field, for example, because it can't have an abstract character. It need to have a technical character, and so you need to be careful when we are writing the applications. Just to get the business methods are things that, for example, are relating to the legal management of something, or the way a plan to do a planning or an optimization or some scheduling of tasks. And another concept that is really important is that what is a computer implemented invention? That is one type of inventions that are very useful. You are very used in this digital health field is something that the implementation of the invention involves the use of a computer or a computer network or other programmable apparatus. Okay, and this doesn't mean that it can also comprise, of course, more things, but this thing needs to be assured. Okay. Regarding this type of inventions, I will not get into lots of details because it is a complex analysis. But in this type of inventions, you need to know that the patent examiner will analyze your claims using a two-hurdle approach. And the first one is regarding that exception that we saw before regarding the object. And it's the most easy hurdle to overcome, because basically you can put that something is run on a computer or a computer way, and this limitation of being a mathematical method or being just a program as such is overcome, because you are adding technical features like the use of a computer or a computer program. And that's then the second hurdle that is related with the assessment of the inventive step. And basically here, you just need to make sure that all the technical features of your invention, whether they are technical or non-technical, they all contribute to a certain technical problem. Okay, they don't just exist. They have a contribution to a certain problem, and that will be taken into account when assessing inventive step of the invention. Another thing you should be careful with in this kind of applications are the limitations regarding patents, and besides the ones that are related with moral and public order, the ones you should be very careful with is the methods for treatment of the human or animal body by surgery or therapy, and diagnostic methods practiced on the human body. And here you need to be aware that this applies for every treatment or diagnostic method that is practiced on the human body, it does not apply on the products or the devices that are used in these methods. And it only needs one step, for example, in the treatment or surgical therapy to fall under this limitation. And it does not apply on in vitro methods. In contrast with surgery and therapy, that just one single surgical or therapeutical step is enough to render the claim under this limitation. In the diagnostic methods, it need to be comprised all the 4 steps of the diagnostic method. Another thing, and that I will stress again, that is really, really important, is to assure that descriptive sufficiency and clarity are assured on your patent application, and especially on this digital health field when you have some artificial intelligence program or you use some algorithm. It really needs to be really disclosed in your invention to the patent examiner don't have any doubts regarding the technical effect of that. Okay. Okay, so now we will look at some strategies and why you need to look at industrial property as a factor that can really impact your invention. As we have seen, patents and utility models are exclusive rights that are limited in time and geography. And so when we know our invention, when we have performed a search on the prior art and we've done a market analysis, we need to think what will be the best strategy to follow. And by that, you need to answer 2 main questions. How can I and do I want to protect my invention? And 2, where do I want to protect my invention? The first one, we already saw that the choice of the modality depends on our invention. If it has something that is a limitation, for example, by utility models, we can protect it. And when we want to protect something by patents, but we see, for example, that certain prior art already disclosed something very similar to our invention, we can rethink whether we should be protected by other modality. Looking at the second question, where do I want to protect my invention? For example, if you are still at a very early stage of your process, you are still studying what would be the best strategy, you can apply for the provisional patent application, where you don't need to have the documents in the formal requirements to have a patent application submitted. It is a modality that is available here in Portugal. You can submit it in INPI, and you have to convert it into a definitive application before 2 months, counting on the first application, on the provisional application submission. If it is not converted, this application is withdrawn. It stays under confidential state, and it is not published. This provisional application, even if it's not converted, can set the priority for another applications like European or international applications. I want to really call your attention. It is a provisional application. You don't have to follow formal requirements for filing and for submitting the documents, but you need to be aware and have all the features of your invention present in this provisional application, because when you convert this application, or when you want to use it as a priority document, you cannot add any technical feature. And so it is important to since the beginning, to have all the features that you consider that are important. This is important because by setting the priority, you have less documents that can be comprised in the state of the art, the so-called state of the art that we mentioned before. And so less documents can be a problem for your novelty or for your inventive step. We have three main routes of protection. The national is, as the name says, when you go to a certain country and you want to protect your invention in that country. You have the European route, when you want your your invention protected in several countries, in this case, several European countries, and you can follow two different routes, the classic European patent and unitary patent, or the international route that is available for the countries that are part of the Patent Cooperation Treaty. Without being, I don't want to spend lots of time in this case because I think it's very easy to understand that anyone here in Portugal can submit a patent application. It can be submitted in Portuguese or English. If it is submitted in English, the applicant will be notified to present it in Portuguese. The European route is also anyone, regardless their nationality or place of residence. Here I want just to stress out that the main difference between the classic European application and the unitary patent is that after the European Patent Office decides to grant a certain application, it is asked to the applicant to decide which way to go. And in the classic application, you need to choose the countries between these 39 contracting states, which of these countries you want to have your invention protected, and then submit a translation of your application in each one of these countries. And in contrast, in unitary patent, you only submit one document in the European Patent Office, and it is valid between these 18 member states that already ratified this agreement. The international route, I just want to stress that it is not an international patent that doesn't exist. What exists is a international administrative process where WIPO handles the application, it analyzes the formal requirements, and then it sends your application to the countries that you choose where you want to have your invention protected, basically. The documents to submit are very similar in whatever route of protection you follow. Also, very important, these routes and these strategies don't exist by themselves. They can be combined. And for example, in this case that I show you in the slide, this patent has a European patent, as you can see by the EP, as the published as. It has national patents in Spanish, the ES, Italian, IT, and also a Portuguese. You can see the PT. And so now we will look at some opportunities and some challenges that the industrial property can provide. Really important, not underestimate the importance of staying vigilant, and for this, not only to make sure that your rights are being ensured when you have some patent that is already granted, but also to avoid to infringe rights of the third parties, to ensure the freedom of operate, to identify possible partners, possible competitors, to avoid this duplication of research and save time, save resources when you have inventions that already exist and are already known. And this is why it is really important to perform searches on patent documentation using patent databases that are handled by the European or other patent offices. And also important to know the mechanisms that exist, and I will talk you about the SME fund that is currently ongoing. It is a fund that is designed by the European Commission, and it is implemented by the European Union of the Intellectual Property Office, and it is running until December, or until all the amount of vouchers are granted. It can be used to protect different assets, not only in patents, but also in trademarks and design, in the application of these different rights. And it is reimbursement system. It has different vouchers that can be used for the application of different industrial property rights. And it also can be used on different services. For example, on the IP scan that we'll see later on. I put here the links so you can read by your time all the information. This type of vouchers depend on your country or region, as well as the amounts of money that is granted. So, as I said, there are different types of voucher. Be aware that you need to use your vouchers during their validity period. Otherwise, you won't be able to use it again during the same year. And to in a very brief way, basically, you apply for the grant of a certain type of voucher that you think is better for what you want to do. Then you will receive your grant and your vouchers. Only after you have received this grant, you will request and pay for the services that you wanted, either it is an IP application or an IP services. After you request it, you get the reimbursed, and then it can happen that is still an implementation period where you can submit other requests for other services or other products. Just to talk a little about the IP scan, it is a mechanism where you may request help for looking at your invention or inventions in general, and some IP expert will help you how to take your inventions, your innovation, your assets, and how to put it in a business model, and what assets you need to protect to help your business grow. Another service that is really a good one is the IP scan enforcement, and this one is more related to intellectual property rights infringement, whether you are being accused of infringing some industrial or intellectual property right, or in the opposite, if you think someone is infringing your rights. I also again want to stress out that although I talked about the patents, the other IP rights are very important, and so IP searches regarding trademarks or designs are very important, and there exist some databases that you can use to search for it, to see if you are not infringing something, or just to get inspired, for example. So I think now we can go to the Q&A, because the next part would be the case study.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alexander, for all these presentations and for all these details. I think it's might be a little bit overwhelming for people that are starting to look at their own
Yes.
assets and intellectual property possibilities. And I probably I would like to start on that. And you showed the onion, which is very inspiring because you sometimes, technologists do not know where to start because they do not focus on the main question for patentability. So they do not know what to ask, what should they protect for. And you just showed a massive amount of databases and possibilities. But if they don't know where to start, and if they do not know how to formulate their main core question, what do you advise for there to start if they have not touched IP at all until now?
Yes, I think the easiest answer would be to look for help, for specialized help, and here, depending on your situation, if you are a university, you can call on the technological transfer offices or enterprises. I'm sorry, or enterprises that are specialized in this kind of services. But I think you can also, prior that, you can also use these databases and you can search for similar inventions. Of course, having always careful not disclosing confidential information because these databases are free. And of course, the confidentiality of the terms and the features that you put there might not be ensured, but you can use these databases to look for similar inventions and read these applications to get to know how to the technical terms that are applied on these patent documents, because there are some differences and sometimes and most often there are used broad terms specifically not to limit the inventions. So by reading applications in the similar technical field or similar inventions, you can understand and get starting in the patent way. You can see what kind of information is provided, what kind of terms are employed, and then I think it might be a good start by searching. Even if it's a rough search, of course, it takes time to get expert on patent search, but a rough search just to get to know the terms that are employed and the way of thinking of a patent, I think is a very good start.
That's a good point. And I think on that line, and it's a little bit related to the second question, would be more, I mean, you see on the digital health kind of environment, there's this combination of, software and now the AI and now clinical workflows that all come together and need to be integrated in some sort of solution that needs to be inventive in a way. So, I mean, my question would be more around what would be the most, let's say, defensible elements to protect, right? So either the combination or you should focus on one. Sometimes it's a misconception of where to start in terms of what can we defend and what can we protect within this integration of multiple things.
I would say that a combination of technical features, whether they are technical or non-technical, would be the best. Of course, having the description with all the details, and as I said before, it is really important in this technical area of digital health and the artificial intelligence to have really disclose the things that were used and why they were used. It is really important to be on the description, and then on the claims you can be more broad and can you can combine the technical features. I think it would be the best way, but I will also and this area is a very specific area when you can find different types of inventions. You have the digital health inventions that are more simplest, but I think the ones that require more conditions. I think anyone should first read and look, for example, at the materials that are provided not only in site of INPI but also in the European Patent Office. They have very guidelines, and they can help you understand what ways are better for you because I really think it depends on your invention and the prior art that you find that can be or not an obstacle to the granting of your patent.
Okay. And then the other point is about timing, right? The timing is always kind of an issue. You never know
Yeah.
I mean, I always think about the journey, and if you are prototyping something, you are probably pushed to protect something, but if you are in a clinical validation stage and market entry stage, you might want to be protecting other things. And you mentioned, we can discuss that, the commercial rights also that are very, very interesting for health startups and so on. But my point was about the timing. I mean, and you mentioned about not disclosing, do the proper prior art research and so on. I mean, how should a prototype stage company should distinguish itself from a market entry in terms of IP conceptualization, I think.
Actually, that is one question that the case study that we will look also talks about, because it really is important to be careful on the timings, because it is in this I think in this area it is important to have a prototype, but you need to guarantee the novelty of your invention, and whether it is with confidential agreements when you are having a meeting with some possible partner, or when you have a more exposed disclosure, such as an affair or I don't know, an exhibition. You need to be really confident that the things you are disclosing, you are showing, it already is protected by a patent application, whether it is not on the earliest stage of the application or not. And I think that's very important, yeah.
We have actually an aligned question here on the Q&A that is for software as a medical device. Should companies file patents before or after the clinical validation?
Well, I think it can be a trick. I don't know if I am the best person to answer that, but I think it also depends on the nature of your invention, because if the technical contribution that that your invention provides is really specific, and it needs to have that clinical support or some testing results, then you should have those results when you are applying to some application. If you think that results might be understandable by the patent examiner, because they are kind of obvious or are not difficult to believe that something will work in that way, I think you cannot put them on the patent application. And also I think that is important is that, as I said, you cannot add technical features to your invention during the process. But for example, if the patent examiner does not see how a certain feature provides a certain technical effect, you can, during the conversations and during the notifications, you can provide documentation and results on your communications that shows that technical feature in fact has a certain effect on the problem you want to solve. So that is not considered as a technical addiction, as a matter addiction, and so it is allowed.
So how often do people that are companies that are trying to patent, or researchers, bring their provisional patent application with a bunch of claims that they can they just list claims, and then they can reverse, right? They can take out claims, but they cannot add, right? So the strategy would be
also, yeah, you can the claims, these are different things. You cannot add features to your invention, but claims are allowed to be changed. You can add, you can remove. For example, if you first file with a set of claims, but then in the search that the examiner provides you, you can see that your claim is too broad and there are documents of the prior art that fall under it, you can narrow down your claim and then change your strategies, change your scope of protection. But the results are a different thing. Are just because they are not matter new information of the features of the invention that you are providing. It's just an explanation. It's just so that is allowed, and in this type of areas, not always you have these results at the first stage. So yeah.
Okay. So maybe a quick question before we go for your use case on the perceived 3D. And it's kind of more a curiosity around these commercial rights that you mentioned. So how often are health companies using them now, because they are interesting, because they can move away from the technicalities and focus on a more kind of commercial principle designs and so on, which is an interesting thing that commonly we don't, technicians do or researchers do not look much more for this commercial part. I mean, what have you seen so far?
Well, as I am a patent examiner, I am not really inside this part of the designs and the trademarks. But honestly, from my perspective, I think, of course, the technology is very important to get the investments and the funds and all of that this type of companies need. But I think the trademark part and the design part need to be also something to be taken into account, because it can really we know the power of trademarks and designs. So I think in health industry it also applies.
Okay, I think we should jump now for the case study. I don't know, Sarah, if you want to have the word, we can proceed.
Yeah, we can advance to the second part.
Okay, so Chandra can continue now with the second case study.
Okay, let me share again my presentation. Okay. So now we'll look briefly to a case study of a company in digital health that is Perceived 3D. And so how has this journey begun? So it all started when Professor João Pedro Barreto and his PhD student Rui Melo embarked on a research project that was about the camera calibration and real-time image processing for endoscopy systems, which quickly led to the development of an early-stage prototype software. And this is important because Professor João Barreto became aware of the importance of intellectual property in these projects of research and development after attending a training session by University of Coimbra that was held by Instituto Pedro Nunes, that is a private non-profit association that runs a business incubator. And so after attending this training, Professor João Pedro Barreto thought that he needed to contact the technology transfer of this university and disclose the invention. In this case, it was an invention that was describing a new way of solving radiant distortions in images. That is a common problem in this type of surgical navigation systems. It is important because as part of the disclosure, Professor Barreto had to provide a complete invention disclosure form, informing what was the invention about, how was the development path of the technology, the potential applications of it, what companies might be interested, for example, in licensing the IP, and so on. And so this technology transfer office began the process of evaluating the patentability of the invention, and he thought that yes, we can have something that is worth to protect. And so they filed a first patent application that you can see on the slide in 2011. That it was an European patent application. So after filing this application, which assured them that this invention was starting to be protected, so they could now be more tranquilized regarding the novelty criteria, and no one could mess with this requirement. So after the application, they started to wonder how was the market needs, and so they understand that finding a licensing partner to this new company or to this invention in Portugal, it would be difficult because it was in a very early stage. This was a technology that involved some high risk and in this small market. And as they knew that larger multinationals are usually not very interested or are not very available to invest in technology that comes directly from universities, or at least at the beginning of the process. And as they know that public funds usually were something more attractive to industry partners, they decided to launch a spin-off, and so it was born the Perceived 3D. They had a license agreement with the University of Coimbra, where several conditions were defined, but one that I want to let you know is that university continued to give support in what they needed, and Perceived 3D would only pay royalties to the University of Coimbra when they started to receive some return of their inventions, basically. I will not get very into detail, but basically the Perceived 3D is built on a set of continuous developments in the medical imaging area. They began with image enhancing improvements, and then the developments expanded into navigation and guidance technologies for arthroscopy and open surgery in orthopedic applications. One thing that was really an advantage for Perceived 3D is that their solution run on any device, so they don't need to have a specific device on their own, which could increase the costs of the product. Basically any smartphone or tablet or surgical camera that was already being used by the medicians could help their software. And so, as I said, the first stage were just involved a calibration method that would improve the visualization of the surgical camera. And then the second stage, we had this surgical navigation that already combined some augmented reality and that could provide some more some better information to the doctor. The latest and the current phase of the improvement was regarding this open surgery guidance that basically provided the doctor some real-time imaging processing for the actions that the doctor need to perform while doing the surgery. So now looking at this IP valorization, and because Ricardo was talking about the prototyping, as he said, it is important in this type of area, companies to have these ideas converted into prototypes, so show something to the possible partners. And this is also important to have to be protected by IP. And as in this case study shows us, Perceived 3D started working on showing their invention in fairs and expositions. And when they were there and showing their inventions, they already had a patent, as we saw, that patent application. So they were not worried that someone could see or and steal their invention, or I don't know, some I don't say patent examiner, but someone record that exposition and then said that the invention could be in cause. Another thing that was important here in Perceived 3D were the dual approach strategy, where they first licensed the first navigation system to a partner, which allowed them to get some return of the first investments they made. And in parallel, they started working on another product, another navigation system. And so they have these, they continue to develop their systems, their technology, but also already getting some return by this IP licensing from another partner. Okay, basically I already covered it, so I will put past it. This managing IP already also comes stressed out what we have said before, that is patent the roots, not the branches, is another way to say the things about the onion. So you need to protect a bigger, a broader invention, and then you can specify the several modes of embodiment that you can have, but you need to patent the core of your invention and not the very specific things. And this was something that Perceptivity also took advantage of, because they had patent application with this mindset that allowed them to be less vulnerable to other competitors, and they could continue to develop their technology without being afraid of someone infringing their rights, basically. So this is an image of the case study that is available by the European Patent Office, and you can explore more. But basically, they filed several patent applications during the different development phases of their technology inventions. Different European patent applications, and we can see that one thing that this study says is that Perceived 3D would benefit from the unitary patent, because they filed applications in several countries, and this unitary patent would be an advantage for them. Okay, so I think that this concludes. I put just here a questionnaire just to hear your opinion, and thank you for listening to me. Thank you, Ricardo. I don't know if you want to see more questions.
Yes, you still have a few minutes for questions or comments. So if anyone would like to ask something or clarify any point, please feel free to do so. I think no. And if not, I would like to thank you again, Alexandra, for this very insightful and informative session. I think it was very clear to understand how digital inventions could be protectors, and to provide some kind of tips and good practice to consider or to take into account during patent application. So I also would like to invite the audience to stay connected with our Digital Innovation Hub and register for the next webinar, which will take place on next week. So I think we have another question. Yes, we have a question. Ricardo, I don't know if you would like to read, but I can. So
Please.
yeah. The question is from Bruno, I think, and he asked, have you already reviewed any related patent application with AI?
Actually, I'm starting to receive this type of applications because because I think companies in this type of field usually look in a more broad strategy. So they go directly to European applications. In that way, the office that receives them is the European Patent Office. And so I am starting to receive some of them because although they go for an European route of protection, I think the companies are also starting to know the potentials of provisional applications, and so they require a search fee here in Portugal and set their priority dates with the provisional application. And so these are the applications that I am receiving in the last months. But normally, I think the amount of volume mine directly are more related with the medical field. And I know that the other colleagues that also are seeing applications in the AI, the numbers are increasing a lot in this year in the national office in Portugal. The numbers are having a boom. Yeah. It's as it was expected.
Okay. Thank you, Alexandra. Okay, I think we can continue closing this webinar. I'm saying that the upcoming webinar will take place next week on 28 April, and this webinar will be focused on medical devices preclinical development strategy. For more details about the program or speakers of these webinars, I would like to invite you to visit our website, and the registration for this webinar is free but mandatory, and you can do it by scanning the QR code that we are sharing now in the screen. And before closing the webinar, I would like to take this opportunity to present Health Business Portugal, an initiative of Health Cluster Portugal. The Health Business Portugal aims to support and facilitate knowledge valorization and the development of innovative solutions in the healthcare sector. And to achieve this goal, a digital platform is scheduled to be launched in June this year. And this platform will centralize key information on the Portuguese health innovation ecosystems. And in particular, the platform will include a mapping of indicators and metrics for more than 1,000 entities, a catalog of over 300 support services ranging from technological development, regulatory support to prototyping and certification, and also some capacity building resources and training materials related to the innovation journey applied to the healthcare sector. Through these initiatives, Health Business Portugal aims to act as a facilitator of the digital health ecosystem, promote open innovation and strategic partnerships to reinforce the competitiveness of the value chain in Portugal. If you want to make part of this network and receive updates about Health Business Portugal, we invite you to scan the QR code. And of course, if you have any questions or would like to receive more information on this platform, feel free to contact HCP. Thank you once again to the audience and Alexandra for this webinar, and hope to see next week.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you all.
Thank
Bye.
you. See you soon.